Did you know that you can actually achieve such a look in Daz3D and you don't do any post work on your image and you have exactly this one? So I only had a slight idea when I started creating this image. But now I achieved this look and I want to teach you how it's done. So let's get out of Iray render mode, go into texture shaded mode and start all over. Do you want to save a scene? Nope, I didn't do any changes. Daz, you are not up to date. Okay, I'm going to import another figure. I'm going to put some clothes onto this figure because YouTube will hate me otherwise, so now there's a little cut. Okay, I've imported the scene that I've already created. I can delete Tracy here because she's not important. Let's hope Sue is wearing more than just a top. She's not wearing more than just a top, so let's do another cut here and we'll see each other in a second. Okay, now this is looking better. I want to have the angle in which I can rotate my camera on the model. So we're having Sue here. I did put some clothes on and we're going to make it look like the exact same as I did earlier, as I showed you earlier. Okay, first of all, we can, since Sue is not naked, we can reduce the nipples that I see are poking through her shirt. And let's just assume that this top of her is thick enough to, you know what I mean. Okay, first of all, I'm using an HDRI here. This was originally a shot that I created to create an icon of her head for my game. What we want to do is we want to go to 0. We want to we don't want the environment to have any effect on our model. Okay, now we can draw a dome. So now you don't see anything. Now the only interesting thing that you can see is here this little image. And for the video I'm going to go the extra road and actually show you in the big window what it's done, what I'm doing. And I can give you here an array preview of a camera. So that way you can see what I'm doing here. And what I'm doing is I'm going to create a spotlight that is going to be lighting up our scene. Now, okay, first of all, I just created the spotlight from a preview view. This should be a pretty basic concept. Now I want to, I've already have it selected, otherwise I would need to select it in the scene tab. Then I can now change the intensity of the spotlight. And I'm starting it normally at 100,000, but I'm probably have to go upward, way up. So let's add another 0. This looks pretty good. I want to select the spotlight because I want to see the difference. And we want to angle it so we have these valleys, these curves of our model be highlighted. Now, this could already be pretty good. Now, let's look at it in a bit bigger. Let's go here into texture shaded. We switch here to camera and we go into NVIDIA Array. Now we can look at our model and see if we are happy with it. Now, let's start with the things that yeah. What I also did is I switched the spotlight to a disk light and not a point light, and I increased the diameter of this disk light. What that does is that we can actually look at it for a second. Now this is our light, and it's an actual object, and it's not just a point. So Array calculates it differently, and the shadows become less harsh and more softer. And now if I increase this value, you can see that the light is going to be bigger. And now if we look at our model, we should see a difference in how harsh the edges of these of the light is, especially on a belly and thighs and so. So if I turn this to 5, you should see that it's very hard, the edge. And if I turn it to 500, we should have very soft Soft edges. Okay. Now what's going to happen if we turn this one upwards to 30,000? So this seems like a good idea. We can maybe position the spotlight a bit different. Now we're going to... no, I'm not really happy with it. Or we want another spotlight. Because the image that I showed you earlier, I created two images of similar, which use the similar technique, but the one I showed you earlier had a fill light, and we're going to create this fill light. I positioned my perspective view so it looks at Sue from the other side. Now we can create this light, and now I have it already selected. We want to increase the intensity to this one shouldn't be too high. We just want a bit a difference between the model and the background. Okay, now 10,000, maybe 20,000. That seems good enough. Okay, now we have our lighting set up. Now the fun part begins. We can go into our tone map tab. Okay, tab would be probably right. Now we can turn down the saturation to 0 because we want to go black and white. At least I want to go black and white. You can go whatever, but I think it looks best if we go black and white. Now the values that I play with are crush blacks. I want to turn it all down because it depends. In my last image I turned it to 0.1, but in the other one that I showed you at the beginning I probably had it at 0. And what that does is that all the dark areas become lighter if we turn it to 0. And if we turn it to 0.2, then there are more dark areas or completely black areas. You can see that if I turn it to 0.71, the image should become more darker. Yeah, okay. I think you see it on her face the most. So if we have it to 0.1, now it's a bit lighter. Okay. And the other thing that I was playing with is f-stop. And f-stop, I turn it to 15, and that doesn't have the exact effect that I was looking for. Let's turn it to 13, and I'm just playing around with values here. Now 12, and if I want to have it lighter, I can go here to 15, and oh no, 13. The higher this value, the darker our image is. Now, I think this is looking pretty good. Now, we can change the pose, of course, but this is just a little showcasing on how you have achieved this effect in Daz, and I think I'm pretty happy with that. Or at least I'm happy enough for this type of image that I'm not using professionally. But if I were to use it professionally, I would just keep playing with these values until I'm happy with the result. Now another thing that you can do is I've already have enabled the denoiser, so it's not as pixelated. You can see that. So if I turn it on, I want to have a cleaner image to have better viewport or to have a better idea on how the image will look in the end. And I'm not asking for details on the skin here. So that's not a problem. Now the next thing that you could do is you can activate the bloom filter, and you can you see that the bright areas blend into the surrounding areas. So this background, which should be completely black, is now slightly white. And I don't like the effect. It's way too much as it is here, right here. I want to turn it down to 0.1 so we have less affected. Now, I might just turn it off completely because it doesn't look very good in this example. But in another example that I did, that I also created, it's the image of Tracy with the wings. Maybe you've seen some of my other content. And there I used the bloom effect. So that was quite fun. If you turn this value here up, it means that only very bright areas are going to be affected. The higher this value is, the less areas of your image are going to have this bloom effect. And as it seems, the 20,000 meant that there isn't a single spot on this image that's bright enough to trigger this effect, so maybe we can go for 10,000. 10,000 might still be too much, so let's see, I'm just playing around. I want to see if there is a sweet spot where I'm very satisfied with the results. Okay, now I think this is good enough. You can do whatever. You can fix a pose because posing is pretty much anything. One thing that is very important is to angle the spotlight right, because let's just say we go too much from the front. Now there's no detail. There is no detail on her belly, for example, and that's no fun. Why would you do this kind of render if you don't have any definition? Detail. Yeah, detail. So let's angle it too much. Let's see what that does for us. Now, this looks pretty nice. You still see the shadow here, so maybe this one is even better than the one before, and we can actually decrease the fill light, so it's becoming a little darker. Now the fill light is on 20,000. What I'm going to do here next is I'm going to increase the spread angle, which makes the entire light darker, and it also has a more even effect on the entire model. Now I went a bit overboard with doubling the number, so we have to increase the the intensity again, and see if this does anything good for us. And I think that's pretty good. I think that this is a perfect image. I'm going to render it out, and I'm probably going to use it as a promo image for my upcoming game. So I hope this helped you guys a bit. I'm going to open the tone mapping settings again, because this is what you want to copy if you want the exact same results or similar results. And I can show you the the values that I put into the spotlights. So this first spotlight is a disc light with a diameter of 500. You don't need a width because a disc light has only is a circle, and a circle doesn't work with height and width, it works with diameter, and this is the diameter option here right next to it. Now the luminance flux, it looks like either 300,000 or 3 million. 3 million, so that's quite fun. And the spotlight 2, I think I had 40,000 lumen. I'm not sure if I pronounce it right or if I phrase it right, but that's okay. 40,000, I have a spread angle of 120, and here I left it as a point light. You could probably go in and make it a disc light to soften the edges again, but I don't think this has too much of an effect here, because you don't really have much edges. You pretty much, the edge that you would see would be in the bright areas of the model, and it doesn't matter because it's in the bright areas. Okay, that's it from me. I hope you had a bit of an learning experience here, and well, this is probably going out tomorrow, this video, so Happy New Year. Have a great one. Goodbye.